imagine typing just, I don't know, maybe 8 words into your laptop, right? And then a few minutes later, you get back this fully lit, perfectly scored cinematic video that has just never existed before.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about.
It really is. I mean, no cameras, no actors, no sound stages, just mathematics translating your exact sentence into a living, breathing reality.
Which, for a long time, the idea of creating a finished video from a text prompt, it just sounded like pure science fiction.
Exactly. But as you've likely noticed scrolling through your feed lately, it is absolutely here. So today, we were taking a custom-tailored deep dive into an incredibly revealing piece of source material. It's titled The Rise of AI Video Generation.
It's a great read. Really eye-opening.
Definitely. And we're going to get you fully caught up on this massive technological shift by, well, looking directly into the hood. Our goal today is to move past that initial shock of seeing these videos and really unpack the mechanics of what the machine is actually doing, to bring a simple sentence to life.
Right, because it is one thing to see a generated video and recognize it as AI, but it is entirely another to understand the really complex sequence of events that takes place in those few seconds after you hit enter.
Yeah, those few seconds are doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Oh, massively. To really grasp where the entire media landscape is heading right now, we have to look past the output and examine the why and the how behind the generation process itself.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before any video can exist in this new paradigm, it all starts as text, right?
Exactly. It always starts with a prompt.
So we need to explore how an AI system translates a simple string of characters into this complex visual world.
Right.
And the Force actually gives us a specific, really highly visual example prompt to work with.
Right. I love this example.
Yeah. The prompt is just a person walking in the rain, cinematic style, night scene. That's it. Just a handful of words.
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer depth of analysis the system performs on that simple string. I mean, it doesn't read the sentence the way, a human skims a text message.
It's not just glancing at the nouns and verbs.
No, not at all. It breaks down the underlying meaning and the relationships between every single word. When it processes person, walking, rain, cinematic, and night, it is calculating a massive number of variables simultaneously.
Like what kind of variables?
Well, it calculates the environment, determining the physical properties of a street at night, and it calculates the necessary lighting, figuring out how light from, say, a street lamp should reflect off a wet asphalt surface.
Oh, wow. So it's actually factoring in the physics of the water.
Exactly. It determines the camera angle, the depth of field, and the specific style of movement required to satisfy that modifier you included, which was cinematic.
Okay, wait. You say it calculates all these variables, but calculation fundamentally implies a formula, right? Like lighting a rainy street at night isn't just a mathematical formula, it's an artistic choice.
That's a really good point.
Right. Like its mood, its contrast, its atmosphere. How can a machine which operates entirely on code and logic make an artistic choice? I mean, if we think of this AI as an incredibly fast, highly literal movie director who has to build a set from scratch based only on your text message, how does that director translate the abstract human concept of cinematic into concrete visual data?
So the director analogy works, but let's take it a step further. This director has never actually seen a movie, felt rain, or, experienced the night.
Right, it's just a computer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The machine doesn't feel what cinematic is. Instead, it relies entirely on its training data to map abstract concepts to mathematical values.
Okay.
The source details that the AI uses knowledge it has extracted from millions upon millions of pictures and videos that it analyzed during its training phase.
So it's looking at human history, basically. Yeah. It has essentially analyzed millions of images that humans have previously tagged with the words cinematic, or rain, or night scene.
Precisely. Through that massive data set, it has learned the mathematical patterns associated with human language.
Okay, I think I'm following.
So it knows that images humans label as cinematic frequently share specific pixel arrangements, like perhaps a shallower depth of field, or a specific contrast ratio between highlights and shadows, or maybe a particular color grading.
Oh, so it's looking at the pixel mass, not the art.
Right. The AI builds a vast, multidimensional map where the word cinematic lives close to these specific visual patterns.
Okay.
When you use that word in your prompt, you are mathematically pointing the AI toward that specific neighborhood of visual data. It applies those learned patterns to your prompt.
Got it.
And once it has calculated all of those variables and established the mathematical parameters of your scene, well, that's when it begins the actual generation process.
So the prompt is just setting the boundaries.
Exactly. And the source explains that the AI generates entirely new pictures, frame by frame, and then links these individual frames together to form a continuous video.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's generating this frame by frame, essentially like a high-speed digital flipbook.
Yeah, that's a great way to visualize it.
But instead of drawing a stick figure moving across the margin of a notebook, it's calculating lighting and physics and texture for every single page.
Millions of calculations per page, yeah.
But if it's drawing this flipbook based on the millions of past images and videos it's studied, how do we know it isn't just a massive copy-paste collage?
What do you mean?
Well, like, if it needs a puddle, is it just ripping a puddle from a movie it saw in its training data, grabbing a person from a YouTube blog, taking rain from a weather report, and just, I don't know, compositing them together on the page?
No, and that is a really critical distinction to make. It is not searching a database for pieces of old videos and pasting them together.
Okay, so no copy pasting.
Right. The process is entirely generative. It relies on a mechanism called a diffusion model. Think of it like this. The AI doesn't start with a blank white canvas. It actually starts with a frame of pure random static, like the static on an old television set.
Just visual noise.
Exactly, pure noise. Then, guided by that mathematical map we talked about earlier, and the parameters set by your prompt, it begins a process of subtraction.
Subtraction.
Yeah. It looks at that static and slowly starts removing the noise that doesn't fit the mathematical pattern of a person walking in the rain at night.
Oh, wow.
It refines the pixels step by step over multiple iterations until an entirely new image emerges from the static.
That is so counterintuitive.
It really is. But because it understands the fundamental pattern of how water falls and splashes, it creates brand new, completely unique configurations of pixels that form rain. It generates the first frame completely from scratch this way.
And then for the next frame.
Well, then to make the video, it predicts what the very next frame should look like a fraction of a second later and generates that one, ensuring it mathematically aligns with the first. And it just does this over and over.
So it's essentially sculpting the image out of static based on probabilities,
Right.
rather than retrieving an existing image from a database.
You nailed it. Sculpting out of static is the perfect metaphor.
Well, that explains the static visuals. But the technology has rapidly evolved past just making a flat picture move slightly. I mean, the source points out that we are moving into the territory of a full studio production now.
We really are. It's not just flipbooks anymore.
Modern AI tools are handling far more than just environmental movement, right?
Oh, absolutely. The capabilities outlined in the source are staggering when you break down the computational requirements. We aren't just talking about rain falling in the background.
Right.
The AI can generate intentional camera movement. Things like panning, zooming, or physically tracking a subject through a 3D space.
Which means it has to understand 3D space.
Exactly. It generates complex character kinematics, meaning the joints and limbs move in a coordinated way. It renders nuanced facial expressions and dynamic shifting lighting effects that have to recalculate instantly as the camera or the subject moves.
And it doesn't stop at the visuals. The source mentions that some of these AI tools are now synthesizing audio alongside the video.
Yes, the audio integration is a huge leap.
They're adding voice, generating background music, creating sound effects, and even matching automatic lip movement to the generated audio perfectly.
It is synthesizing all the different departments of a traditional film crew. You've got cinematography, lighting, acting, Foley, and scoring, all compressed into a single unified mathematical process.
It was mind-blowing.
It is. The latent space, that mathematical map the AI operates in, is becoming robust enough to link audio waveforms directly to visual pixel generation.
But wait, if it's calculating lighting, calculating physics, generating a score, and lip-syncing audio all the exact same time, isn't there a risk of the system fundamentally buckling under the weight of that cognitive load?
That is the big question right now.
I mean, human film crews have hundreds of specialists precisely because keeping track of all those variables simultaneously is incredibly difficult. If the AI is essentially generating a flipbook while also trying to calculate how a shadow should dynamically warp across a jawline while the mouth forms a specific vowel sound, I mean, that seems like an architectural recipe for collapse.
It is a massive computational burden, no doubt about it. And you've hit on the exact boundary of where the technology currently struggles.
So it does struggle.
Oh, definitely. Because the AI is acting as the entire studio, generating all of these elements frame by frame from scratch, things absolutely do slip through the cracks. The structural integrity of the generation can and frequently does break down.
Which means, despite the rapid advancements, AI doesn't always make perfect videos.
Not yet.
According to the source material, these systems are still highly prone to errors.
Yeah, this raises an important question about reliability. The source highlights some very specific flaws that occur because of this massive processing load.
Like what kind of flaws?
Well, for instance, you will often see characters inexplicably change physical attributes mid-video. A person might be wearing a red jacket in 1 second, and then in the next second, the jacket morphs into a blue sweater.
Oh, I've seen that happen.
Yeah, or their hairstyle completely shifts. Furthermore, the source notes that complex anatomical structures, specifically hands and faces, they often end up looking deeply unnatural.
You've probably scrolled past one of these videos on your feed. At a glance, it looks real. But then you look closely at the person's hand resting on a table, and you realize they have 6 fingers.
Or 7.
Right. The joints are bending backward, or the face is just slightly, off. It's the uncanny valley in full effect.
The uncanny valley is a crucial concept here. It refers to that psychological dip in human comfort, that eerie, unsettling feeling we get when something looks almost human, but not quite perfect.
It's a really creepy feeling.
It is. Evolutionarily, human beings are highly attuned to spotting subtle abnormalities in other human faces and bodies. It's actually a survival mechanism.
Makes sense.
So when an AI gets the anatomy, say, 95% right, our brains immediately zero in on the 5% that is wrong, and it triggers a deep sense of unease.
It feels exactly like a dream state to me.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Have you ever had a dream where everything feels totally real, the environment makes perfect sense, you're walking down the street?
Yeah, totally.
But then in the dream, you look at your own hands, or you look at a clock on the wall, and the physics are just entirely wrong.
Yeah.
The numbers are melting, or your hand is just a blur of shapes.
Yes, the classic dream test.
That is the exact vibe of these AI video flaws. The atmosphere is there, but the underlying logic of physical reality just evaporates when you inspect the details.
The dream analogy is actually highly relevant to how the architecture functions. And the reason those specific flaws happen, the morphing clothes, the melting clocks, the unnatural hands, it connects directly back to the frame-by-frame generation process and something called autoregressive drift.
Autoregressive drift, what's that?
Remember, the AI is generating this video one single image at a time, right? Predicting the next frame based on the previous ones.
Right, it's generating frame 1, then looking at frame 1 to generate frame 2.
Exactly, but the AI doesn't have object permanence. It doesn't know that the jacket is supposed to be red in the way a human continuity director knows.
Oh, because it's just doing math on the pixels.
Right. It only knows the mathematical probability of the next frame's pixels. So if frame 2 is 99% accurate to frame 1, well, that's a great generation.
Sure.
But then it uses frame 2 to generate frame 3, and frame 3 to generate frame 4. Over a sequence of hundreds of frames, those tiny 1% errors, they start to compound.
Oh, wow. It's like a game of telephone.
Exactly like a game of telephone. The system slowly loses the thread of the original parameters. That is why maintaining consistency in longer videos remains the most significant challenge mentioned in the source.
So it literally forgets what the person looked like.
Pretty much. It forgets exactly how the hand was positioned 50 frames ago, so it generates a new hand based on its general training data rather than the specific context of the current video. And that leads to the extra fingers and shifting geometry.
Man, if this system relies entirely on its immediate short-term memory of past frames to guess the next frame, that inherently limits what it can accomplish over a longer timeline. You can't tell a cohesive story if your main character's face melts every 10 seconds because the math drifted.
You really can't.
So where does that leave the technology right now?
Well, according to the source, despite these dreamlike flaws and the ongoing battle with consistency drift, the technology is advancing at breakneck speed.
It feels like there's a new update every week.
There practically is. The future outlook provided by the text is clear. The algorithms designed to maintain that frame-by-frame consistency, to expand the AI's memory and context window, they are improving visibly every single month.
That's incredible.
The source concludes that within just a few years, the entire foundational method of video creation might be completely transformed. We are basically moving from a period of experimentation into a period of refinement.
So what does this all mean? Well, understanding all of this right now gives you a critical lens for viewing the media you consume every day. When a video crosses your screen, you don't just have to be a passive consumer wondering if it's real or if it's a trick.
Right, you can actually see what's happening.
You now know the mechanics behind the curtain. You understand how text is parsed into mathematical variables, how diffusion models sculpt images from static noise, how motion vectors are calculated frame by frame, and the exact reasons why the uncanny valley rears its head when the math starts to drift.
It's true.
You are looking at the media landscape with a completely different level of literacy.
And that literacy is essential right now. By recognizing the constraints, like, why hands look weird, why objects morph, and understanding the staggering capabilities of this technology today, you are much better prepared for how this will integrate into mainstream media tomorrow.
The source text ends by posing a direct question about the trajectory of this technology, and I want to leave you with it to mull over. If the AI is acting as a literal director, generating lighting, actors, camera angles, and sound from a single sentence, and the consistency algorithms are getting better every single month.
And they are.
Think about what that means. Will AI be able to make full movies in the future?
It's the ultimate question.
Imagine a world where a feature-length film, complete with a narrative arc, consistent characters, and a sweeping score, is generated from a single text prompt you type on your couch. Think about what that means for the future of storytelling, the barrier to entry for filmmakers, and our very definition of art. Will AI be able to make full movies in the future? Something to think about.